Good evening and welcome back to our journey to the manger, as this week we look at the birth of Jesus. Now the title for today is There Was No Room at the Inn. Now I don't know about you, but I find this part of the nativity story always makes me think of the school play, when someone would play favourite part, some of our gentlemen thespians, when the time comes for Experience Christmas. One of our primary schools also sing a charming song called No Room at the Inn, complete with actions, which I find a seasonal highlight. In reality, however, this part of the story most likely didn't happen. There was no grumpy innkeeper because there was no inn. The word for inn in Greek is pandokion, which is not used in the nativity story to describe where there is no room for Jesus, but is used in Luke's Gospel later, during Jesus' telling of the parable of the Good Samaritan, where the Samaritan takes the beaten man to an inn on the road between Jerusalem and Jericho. This would be a fitting place for an inn at that time, as they were found almost exclusively on trade routes, and this isolated road would have been an ideal place with a lot of foot traffic. But if there was no inn in the nativity story, where was Jesus born? We're all so familiar with the original nativity scenes of a stable with the manger, the animals, the shepherds, the 3 wise men. Well, we won't be seeing them for a while. So, why a stable? It's understandable when reading of the text says that Jesus was laid in a manger. A manger is a feeding trough for livestock. Animals live in barns or stables. However, this is a contemporary Western culture and not true of first century Israel. The traditional view was that Jesus was actually born in a cave. In fact, this is what we were told when we visited Bethlehem. In 335 AD, or to be politically correct these days, ACE, after the Common Era, must remember I'm still a historian, Emperor Constantine approved the cave that was the traditional site of Jesus' birth to be turned into a holy site, on which was built, which we were lucky enough to visit. And you can see here the star is supposedly on the place of Jesus' birth. Now, the people of Bethlehem were known to keep their flocks in an adjoining cave, and there's archaeological evidence for animals being housed in caves, like in shepherds' fields in Bethlehem. However, it does need to be noted that despite the Church of the Nativity being commissioned as a holy site as early as 325 ACE, the Bible doesn't make a definitive reference to a cave, only to a manger. Might clear it up. This is a reconstruction of what homes in Bethlehem might have looked like. So typically, you can see the bottom floor, which was sometimes an adjoining cave, but not necessarily, was a place for the household's prized possessions, the most valuable animals to live, especially during inclement weather. And you can see there the man leading the donkey. The top floor was the primary residence for the family and always included an upper room, which would serve as a guest room for visitors. And this is the type of room that Jesus and his disciples used to celebrate the Passover in what became known as the Last Supper, because it was completely expected for faithful Jewish families to show hospitality to travellers, especially to family. So this would explain Luke's use of the Greek word kataluma in the nativity story, which is also the word he uses to describe the setting for the Last Supper, and this word is translated from the Greek as guest room. So Jesus was born in a place for treasured animals, a sacred space, just as he is born in a sacred place in each of our hearts every day, if we let him. The problem is, today, as Paula Gooder reflects in her book, Journey to the Manger, the hustle and bustle of life, people just don't have room for Jesus in their hearts or in their lives, which is perhaps the theological reason behind no room at the inn, and why people have often thought of it as no room in the inn. Just as Jesus could be his place of birth, so too can we turn him away from our lives. We just need to make room for him in our sacred space. See you all again soon. Goodbye.